You hear us? Welcome to the Being Curious Show. I'm Brian Mariani, founder of No Shift Own.
And I'm Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge Magazine. Our show is about curiously connecting teachers and seekers on a wide range of topics in a safe space. Few topics will be off limits, and we have some amazing guests to share with you.
Our intention is that our conversations will spark your own curiosity to create a life that lights you up and inspires you to be kind, thoughtful, open-minded to yourself and others.
So, Brian, what are you curious about today?
Okay, Kelly, here we go. So, for those who have been listening recently, I have been coming up with these little questions to help us get to know Kelly because she is a very interesting person.
I am an interesting person.
I was wondering, Kelly, tell us about an experience you had recently while you were shopping, whether it's grocery shopping or clothes shopping for your kids or yourself. Do you have a fun or interesting story about maybe being in the checkout line and seeing people from the other side? Or do you have any interesting experiences lately?
I think people turn their brains off when they go to Costco. They turn their brains off. They stay on their phone. There should be lanes in Costco. The people that need to get their stuff done and the people that are just that. And then you throw in sample day and that screws the whole thing up.
So what lane are you in at Costco?
I'm at the fast one. I can get in and out of Costco in just no time.
So are you saying that you kind of shut off all of your gifts and abilities when you go to Costco?
I do. I have to. That in airports. I have to
got it. Okay.
Right? So that makes it a lot easier, right? But then I'll walk up to a pregnant lady and I'll be like, "Oh, when's your son due?" And she's like, I don't know why you're saying that. Hi, have a great day. And then I love buying flowers. Costco has amazing flowers. So
and
there's
do
my
you do that for yourself or do you do that for your gorgeous husband, Steve?
Both of us. Everybody wins, but I am a sucker for fresh flowers. So it's mostly for me and he just gets the benefit of it. So there
we go. Well, there's a little insight into magical Kelly. And so here we go with our show today. This
here. Be a great show.
We're here with Christine Day. She is an absolute superstar, global ambassador for all things extraordinary, especially all things light and good and whole. And I know that you've had, we were actually just before the show, Kelly, you were holding up a magazine that Christine was featured in back in 2016, I think it was. Yeah, so this relationship has been going on for a long time, The Edge. So, Kelly, before we formally introduce Christine, I know that you really nerd out and geek out on, certain guests. And I know Christine is one that you're really, really excited about. So give us some backstory.
I'm Christine, welcome.
Thank you.
Now that we're 3 minutes in. And are you in New Zealand right now, or Australia, or Grand Marais?
I am in this very outback of Central Australia right now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, hello. What time is it at your time?
It is now 4:00 in the morning.
Awesome. So we were running a little bit behind to start taping, so I can see Christine's like, I woke up for this.
Yes, I woke up at 2:00 this morning for this.
Oh my goodness! Well, thank you so much for being here. Okay.
Oh my goodness. I'm an early morning riser, so that works.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Something that Christine, and I don't know how many years ago this was. This is before I really came into embracing our community and our gifts and abilities. I was at the Thunderbird Hotel in Bloomington, Minnesota for a healthcare conference, and you were hosting one of your conferences simultaneously of the healthcare conference. And all the because there's a lot that has to go on for you to have your sacred space and the people, I mean, like, you hold a lot during that time. So I'm going back and forth between this healthcare conference, but desperately wanting to come up and introduce myself and say hello to you. But then I'm running a healthcare conference. So it was really interesting to watch all the curiosity of the people in our conference, but then also the workers who are working, because they didn't understand all the logistics that are
Yes.
needed to do what you need to do when you hold space, when you share it with others, and everything included into that. So welcome to the show, and just
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I had an awakening. My Pleiadian aspect came through me about in 1996. That was when I kind of came across a Pleiadian ship out in nature, and the Pleiadians were coming towards me. And at that time, I didn't even believe in spaceships or aliens, and I would have run, but they grabbed me telepathically and reminded me of my pre-agreement to be here on the Earth plane, to act as a Pleiadian ambassador for the planet, to create a bridge between humanity and the Pleiadians. So my life transformed, because in that moment, my Pleiadian aspect, which is part of my higher self, came right into my body. It took 2 months for it to fully integrate. I was in bed for 2 months while I processed this higher frequency of my consciousness into myself. And from that time on, I was traveling the world 9-10 months a year, working all over the world, bringing the transmissions of the Pleiadians to humanity, and the teachings and clarity about what's truth and what we're doing here as human beings and who we are in our sacred nature. And so then the pandemic hit and I went totally online. And then after the pandemic, the Pleiadians said you have to move from Grand Marais. You have to go to Central Australia in the wilderness. That's where the communication and the ultimate reality spaces are wide open for you to receive these pure transmissions to transmit out to the world. So I had 5 months to move. So we moved here, December last year. And it's been an incredible journey here. And I'm loving it, but it's interesting. I never thought I'd be back into my homeland, Australia, but I am here. And I still miss America. I was there 35 years. I'm a citizen. I'm still very connected to America. I love that country, and I'll be going back and forth. I have children there and children here. So that's kind of my background. And now I'm here doing another step of my work in the world.
So taking a step back, just for some of our listeners that are not familiar with the Pleiadians, tell us
Yes.
a little bit about, because I do want to bring that back and share, because
It's-
for you and I, we'll just start riffing back and forth, and it's like, oh, of course. Right.
I think it's so important for people to understand who
Right.
the Pleiadians are, because a lot of people don't understand they're not in spirit form. They're actually living an incarnation. And their mission for this lifetime, for their lifetime, is to support Earth in this current transition that we're in the middle of. And so their role, they come from the Pleiades. It's the seven sisters, a series of planets. Many of them are here on the Earth plane. And why? Because that is part of their mission, and they're part of a universal team that are here on Earth to move Earth from a third dimensional, fourth dimensional planet into a fifth, sixth dimensional planet, so that we can rejoin our resident universe. We're the only planet in the universe that is still operating from a third dimensional perspective. So the whole universe cannot move forward without planet Earth kind of being propped up and moving on. And so they're here to support us in that role of understanding the illusion here, bringing clarity to our lives and who we are as human beings. I love the Pleiadians because they're self-empowering, and they they say we need to honor our humanity. It's not about losing our humanity. It's about realigning to our sacred aspect that's just beyond the veil. We're fully intact just beyond the veil, each one of us. And there's nothing we need to change about our humanity, our human selves, in order to move into our enlightenment process. So they release the mystery of enlightenment and give really specific tools of how we can move and realign and regain and retrieve our sacred energy and our sacred tools. So, they're really doing an amazing job here, and they come from a place of unconditional love. They've evolved into the 5th, 6th, 7th dimensional energy of their planet, their race. So they're highly evolved and here to support us with a tremendous amount of love and teaching compassion of ourselves, mostly.
So
That's a big one to sign up for.
Yes.
Christine, you mentioned your first experience with the Pleiadians, and you mentioned that you saw this large ship. And again, for those people that this is maybe a new reality, what did you interact with something that looked like you or felt like? What describe the physicality of that experience, if you could?
Okay, so the Pleiadians, they have a couple of different forms, but these Pleiadians were very tall humanoid forms. But and they are not, as I said, in spirit form, but they appear to vibrate because they carry a very high frequency of light. So it's like a vibrating humanoid form that were, and there were many of them that were coming out of the ship towards me, all part of my own family of origin. And they were coming to greet me and support me in this huge transformation and transmutation that I was about to undergo.
Were you nervous? Were you fearful? Did you want to run the other way? Did you want to go into what was the emotion of you feeling? I mean, right? Because I can see you having a knowing and okay, but then your human brain's going to also click in at a time and have a little bit of resistance. I'm almost saying like a firefighter. Usually if there's a fire, you want to run the other way, but firefighters trained to ease into it. What was your experience?
If I could have run, I would have.
Okay. Okay.
But what they did, which was very clever, they grabbed me telepathically and brought me into the full memory of my Pleiadian energy and the pre-agreement that I made before I came onto this earth plane. They took me back to the planet Pleiades in that telepathic transmitting. And so I remembered who I was. It was almost like I was my Pleiadian self looking at Christine, the human. And I had made a pre-agreement to enter this physical form at that destined time for me then to be able to hold the multidimensional gifts of my Pleiadian self. So once I came out of that 2-month integration period, I had all these gifts, all this knowing, all this higher frequency knowledge and connection. And my human aspect had to go through a lot of adjustments, but there was a lot of support given to my human part. And that transition over the 2 months in bed, I was in bed for 2 months while I went through this. The last thing my human part wanted was to have anything to do with the Pleiadians. I was not ready to take on this role. And then about 2 weeks before that 2 months was up, the 2 angels descended around me and they talked to me about the God consciousness state. And they said that the Pleiadians are part of the God consciousness state in this resident universe. They are part of that God light. And that helped me tremendously to come to terms with this mission that I had in front of me. Still makes me very emotional. And to really accept my role and to soothe that part of myself that was in such conflict. Actually, conflict would be the word. And so when I did finally get out of bed, I was ready. I mean, I had my Pleiadian energy, which is, vast, and all of that love around me. My Pleiadian family stayed with me, and they're still very close to me even now as I move through the world.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to leave you right at you're just about to get out of bed. And then we're going to go to the next segment. But everybody, this is Christine Day, International Palladian Ambassador, here, there, and everywhere. That's how I say like all the universes and all that stuff. I just say here, there, and everywhere. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, ChristineDayOnline.com is where you can get a lot more information. But in the next segment, we're going to have Christine. She just went through 2 months in bed. The last 2 weeks were a little better with the angels, and she's just about to get out of bed. And then we'll be right back.
All right, everyone, here we are. We're back with segment 2, the Being Curious Show. We're here with Christine Day, ChristineDayOnline.com. We have gone through the beginnings of your story here, Christine. Of course, it's not the total beginning. We're starting somewhere during your life where you had this experience of walking out into nature and you see this spaceship and you meet the Pleiadians for the first time. And I'm actually curious, because that's what we do on this show, I'm actually curious to start a little farther back. Who were you? What was going on in your life? What kind of vision did you have for your life, if any? Were you kind of wandering through, confused in life? What was going on before you met the Pleiadians?
Well, my life was very ordinary, very less than ordinary. I had no vision for my life. I had no story about my life. I was like a really dead individual inside. At the age of 31, I had advanced systemic lupus and given a few months to live. And I was really like walking around like a half dead person. That came from my background. I was in cult ritual abuse as a child. It destroyed my sense of myself, any sort of feeling that I could have anything or be anything. And so at 31, I realized when I was given that diagnosis that really I had created something to kill myself. Mm-hmm. And that was like an intuitive thing that came in. It was like, oh my gosh, I have created something to kill myself. And that thought actually made me feel excited because I didn't believe I was capable of creating anything, let alone to end my life. And the next thought was, if I could create something to kill myself, I could create my own healing. And that was another light bulb went on. And I didn't realize it, but looking back in retrospect, that was the moment when I started to take my power back, because I'd let go of my power as a child. I'd been destroyed. And it was a moment of taking responsibility for what I had created in my life. And in that moment, I know that was the moment when things started to shift in my body. And I knew also in that moment, there was this knowingness that in order to live, I had to leave the hospital and I couldn't afford to do anything the same again. And I also had the knowing, all this knowing coming in, that I was still holding all the trauma from my childhood inside of me. And that, so I didn't know about healing, meditation, spirituality. I had nothing. I was like a blank canvas, really blank. Like, so I went home and I thought I will just sit with myself because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have the tools to even look for help or resource anything. And so I was sitting, I just sat. And for 2 weeks I sat, and just about 2 weeks after that time, this huge light came in, the feeling of love that I had never experienced before. And I just really felt, I called it God, because I'd never felt love. I'd never really been loved in my life. And it just never left me. It's just pouring in all this light, this energy. And it was coming through my hands. It was just day and night pouring through me. And my son was very, very ill at the time. And I just put my hands on him to kind of utilize some of that energy coming through me. And as I did, that light went into him and he started to change, but I started to heal. And I could feel getting myself, not only getting physically stronger, but I came into feeling joy. It was like I was resurrected into something very different than I'd ever been, a joyful, positive person. And I was a negative, depressed individual, loving life, starting to notice nature for the first time and starting to draw and really utilize that energy and that light that became part of me. So that shifted me. And it shifted me right to America, where I had my spaceship experience 10 years later. But I then went to working with people with this light that continued to pour through me. I continued to transform in lots of ways. And it was preparing me to meet my Pleiadian family. There's no way I could have dealt with that way back in the beginning when I was just so compromised on so many levels. And I realize now it wasn't the light of God that was with me. Well, of course, it's all God consciousness and light, but it was my Pleiadian energy coming in. But I just called it God because of the love that was there. So that was my preparation, I think, for connecting to that Pleiadian, my Pleiadian aspect, and allowing it through. It was all preparing me for this launch that took place for me.
Wow. So 10 years?
Yes. 10 years I went from a person who never left the house, depressed and really broken, to this new being, this alive person. And a lot of the old shells and structures just fell away, the old density and the heaviness from my childhood. So I became a healthy adult, which was really special, really a gift.
Christine, as you reflect today, would you say that the Pleiadians gave you that decade of being in the light before they came to you, and would you say that's maybe part of the story?
Oh, and they're absolutely an essential part of the story. And in those 10 years, I worked with that light, working on lots and lots of people. My son healed tremendously, transformed, but then I was called to work with others. And so I was out in the world teaching what I was receiving in that love. And and putting my hands on many people. And I went to America and did that and was working that way when I had my Pleiadian encounter. And then everything shifted from there dramatically, in a very different way, for sure.
And so what was that? So the angels show up 2 weeks into the end of the 2 months of you being in bed. You've had a decade prior to that 2 month experience, meeting the Pleiadians for the first time, of being more in the light, working with the light, healing your son, healing many others. So what happens in the final 2 weeks, and then when you get out of bed and you start going out into the world?
Yeah, well, I got out of bed a totally transformed person. I couldn't recognize myself. And dealing with a totally fluid body, I couldn't feel my physical form anymore. And I still don't feel my physical form, but I've adapted to that after the last, 26 or is it 30 years? I don't know now.
How do you do that? Like, how do you adapt to not feeling your physical form, but then trying to acknowledge it?
Well, you learn to orientate. You learn to move in the world a different way because you perceive everything differently. You see ahead of time.
Do you drive a car?
Yes, I can drive. I can function perfectly in the third dimensional. My human self supports me in my organizations. It has a role. It doesn't run my life, but it supports me in my life and helps me organize on a third dimensional level. So it's utilized much more consciously, but it does not run my life. I am in my Pleiadian energy, interacting with the galactic community, interacting with all the masters, because I am part of the oneness, much more part of the oneness. And so I draw from that, which I am part of. And so I can multiplex, which allows me to be in multidimensional realms simultaneously. So I operate from those spaces all the time, and I'm working with thousands of people at the same time. So I'm working from my multidimensionality, which we all have. We're all multidimensional beings, and the role is for us all to come back to ourselves, and it's not that difficult. So it's really, I'm the model for that. And I guide people back to themselves through the Pleiadian initiations and my own direct experience, which is so really important, to have that direct experience. I'm still human. I honor my humanity. And so I stay as balanced as possible. That's really important.
How do you stay as balanced as possible? Like on the earth plane, how do you?
Well,
Here, there, and everywhere.
The
So how do you do
Pleiadians, the Pleiadians took me through the shamanic training. They were the ones who transmitted all the teachings to all Indigenous people across the world. They took me through the shamanic training so that I would have a very, very direct link to the natural forces on the planet. And that has been a great stabilizer for me. That's helped me tremendously. I used to run vision quests all over the world when I had the time. I don't do that anymore. But it's really been supportive, and I'm very linked in to the earth. And I honor my humanity. So I make sure I have, like, instead of using a calculator for figures, I use my mind. So my human ego mind gets to do human things, and that stabilizes things. So it's a mindfulness. It's, that is so important anyway. I still work on my humanity, on my idiosyncrasies as a human being. That's a really important part. It's about honoring the human experience, and I'm still here to have a human experience.
Right.
So I do a lot of gardening, a lot of things in the earth. I love to cook. So I've built certain things around very consciously. that bring me simple joys, simple moments,
The
that's
other
really key.
the other day I went to a bakery and I grabbed a fresh croissant. This is so funny. I'm so glad I can share this. And I broke it apart and I took a bite and I called in my team and I said, "This is truly a human experience. You don't get croissants in other places." And I just felt all these bubbles and all these giggly around, but it was just this really moment of this human experience that you don't get to eat croissants when you're not incarnated and having the human experience.
That's exactly true. And the Pleiadians actually learn from me. They learn how to create initiations and how they can appeal to the human person. So they don't go above the human being. They understand the vulnerabilities of humanity through me. And so the initiations are geared for the human being so they can digest it and be able to take it in. It's important for me to be very human. When I bring my Pleiadian transmissions through, because then people can relate to it. It's not like something that they can't relate to, and that then makes them relax and be able to receive it, the gifts of the transmissions. So that's part of my work too, is to take the mystery out of the Pleiadians so people feel comfortable with that, because there's so many stories out there and so many off the wall things. And it's not that off the wall. It's actually just a really important part of our earth and being in this resident universe and knowing our neighbors and interacting with our neighbors now. This is a key component right now to what needs to take place on the planet for our next steps. And so that's really key, really important.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, you guys, we are wrapping up segment 2, and Christine has a 3-day seminar coming up very, very soon, and we're going to dive into that into segment 3. And there's ways to study with her, there's study to learn from her and the Pleiadians. She's an ambassador, so it's this collective, this and then on the earth plane. And ChristineDayOnline.com. If you're curious at all, please just go and check it out. Christine, I will tell you every single time so Christine's a monthly contributor to Edge Magazine. Every time you get your message for the month, our website traffic just goes right up because people are extremely curious to hear about what you and the Pleiadians have to offer at the beginning of the month. So we have a new one for that as well. Okay, it is the Being Curious Show with Brian and Kelly and Brian. And today we have Christine Day wrapping up segment 2, coming on into 3. We'll be right back.
And welcome back, everyone. We are here with Christine Day, ChristineDayOnline.com. Please go to her website. It is just first of all, beautiful website. It's so inviting. There's so many places to go to learn and to connect and expand your knowing and understanding. And this has been an awesome conversation, Christine. And as I was listening to you tell your story and just walk through your multitude of experiences, I may have a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because this is a show about being curious, and I am always aware of the ego often tells us, "Ooh, that's a unique question," or "That's a unique idea," and it never is. There's always a million people thinking the same thing. So to that end, have you ever been approached by any government agencies, things of that nature, to be like, hey, you're connecting with this other group of or entities or whatever we want to call them. Has that ever happened, or does that happen, or can you talk about that?
It does happen, and it hasn't happened for a long time because it feels like the governments are, number one, the galactic community are backing away from the governments right now because they are anything but really open to really wanting to receive. They're wanting to control and stay in power. And their need for power and their egos are so strong that they're seeing that there's no benefits in approaching any sort of government bodies. They're approaching other individuals, but not government bodies because of the violence and their need to control and dominate.
And so that really piggybacks into my next question, which is, being an ambassador for the Pleiadians, what is the message for this time right now? What is the invitation? What is the learning? What is the opportunity for us all in what you could share based on what your knowing is right now?
Oh, I'm sure they have a lot to say.
They always have a lot to say. But I think the main focus is they're trying to bring everyone's awareness into the fact that everyone, all of us on planet Earth, have pre-agreed to be here at this very special time. It's a gift to be here. We may have forgotten that we've agreed to be here because of all the drama, but the drama is just part of the illusion, and the illusion is nothing to do with what is truth. And the fact is that the ego mind's connected to the drama, and the truth is the heart connection. That's where we reconnect to our multidimensional heart, which is our multidimensional tool. It links us directly into that sacred aspect of our higher self. So they're wanting to bring our awareness out into our resident universe, understanding that we are part of a collective consciousness, and how important it is now that we in human form are the ones to change the transition of Earth. We can have all the help. We have help from all over the universe coming in, creating certain platforms, energetic platforms. But the ultimate bottom line is those of us in human bodies, the ones that are going to make the transition possible. And as we choose consciously, each one of us chooses to link into our individual heart frequency, because we all have a unique heart frequency that's unlike anyone else in the universe, let alone on Earth. And so as you connect into that, we create that unique pulse that goes from our own hearts, and we can join our collective rhythm and frequency of the collective hearts and create these powerful energetic settings for Earth to start shifting the dynamic even more completely and transform Earth as it should be. The Pleiadians say we're ahead of time and we're going to be successful in this transitional phase. And the fact is that we need to remember that we have our humanity, but the sacred nature is fully intact just beyond the veil. And that there's nothing we have to change about ourselves in order to link into that. It's a returning. It's not learning anything new. It's returning, reconnecting. That's all it is. And so the energies with the Skandala effect, it hit the planet May 3rd, and it's been on the planet. It's a rare light consciousness that's come onto the planet that's actually melting away the illusion and the veils, and making us much more able to enter through this fluid opening back to our origin of our sacred energy. So there's a whole shift taking place, but the only phrase they link to is, you are who you've been waiting for. You are who you've been waiting for. Everything's within us, within our hearts. There's nothing else we need. And this is the link. And the link is opening up like a flower, a bud of a flower would open its petals to the sun. The veils are lifting and the opening is taking place. Understanding the drama on the planet is just the illusion, not to focus on that, not to be distracted by that, but to know that this is our orientation. It's our true reference point is our heart. It's the guiding light. It's our compass to take us back home to that sacred energy. And it's our mission in this lifetime to embody our sacred energy in this physical body. We're not supposed to leave the planet to reunite with our sacredness. We're to live in this incarnation in our physical bodies and bring in that pure electric light that we are and consciousness. And we can do that because we have the crystalline structure within us to house the quality of electric light that we all are in our sacred energy. So this is a powerful time for everybody. But the galactic community, including the Pleiadians, are calling forth us in human bodies to have a deeper, more intimate relationship with them. They're calling forth, and I'll be putting together a process for a group of humans who are ready to have a deeper, uniting interaction with the galactic community, because this is the time for that. And for us to consciously choose to make that connection.
How do we go as a collective from fear to taking that first step to being open?
Okay, so the fear is, we know the ego mind has a total misperception of truth, and it perpetrates fear. And fear is based on the past, or what may happen, or what did happen is going to happen again. It's one of the biggest illusions on this earth plane, fear. And for me, I learned early on, fear is usually creates a red light to stop you. And I just reprogrammed. The more fear I felt, the more I knew it was important for me to take the step. And I just turned it into a green light to go. It's just old programming. So you have to see that fear is the ego mind trying to control the situation and keep you in a self-sabotaging pattern. That's really all it is. And then you have to mentally choose to ignore that feeling and do it anyway. And you'll find that when you do it anyway, the fear dissolves and it can't hurt you. It's just a feeling created by the ego mind to keep you in control.
I'm seeing it like a stoplight where you
Yeah.
have the red light and you just have to pop it to a green light.
That's exactly it. The moment you get that, guess what? The fear starts to dissolve. And you find out that beyond when you move in and do and take those steps, your life transforms and you start to generate a new life for yourself. You start to open up to receive the abundance that's there for you in every new experience, in every moment. And it's like just a veil lifts once you make that choice and you enter a new arena of magic, your own magic, actually. It's no one else's. It's your own magic. So it's about choosing and understanding the ego-mind dynamic that's played us for lifetimes.
Right.
And that we can just do it differently now because we can, because we're allowed. And it's a liberation. That's really the key piece. It's simple. Everything is so simple, and the ego mind complicates everything, you know.
Absolutely. And this tees us up beautiful to your December 8th, 9th, and 10th event. Let's invite people. Let's tell them a little bit about what they're going to experience for your 3-day seminar.
Well, the Pleiadians, this seminar is incredible.
They're like, woohoo!
They're bringing the highest profile energetic grid network to the seminar than ever before. And this network is being held and stabilized, anchored by the Galactic Council. And it's really about learning to work within this multidimensional network grid where you enter a series of collective communion frequencies that exist within our resident universe. So you will launch yourself into a sacred flow and begin a really expanded series of communion alignments with the galactic communion higher resonance, which will, launch you back into your own awakening. You'll receive telepathic frequency communion transmissions from the Pleiadians. So you'll be birthing or rebirthing your own telepathic center on another level. And this, you'll regain skills to work from another multidimensional viewpoint of yourself. You start to realign to your natural aspect, and it will support you with your own mission on this planet. There's profound processes working within a multidimensional communion sphere. And this sphere, this is a geometrical form which will generate a pure radiance light to amplify the communion resonance within you. So you'll orientate within this arena. You'll learn how to do that and launch into an accelerated awakening. So the Skandala effect is active in the program. It's actually going to be magnified to really allow you to retrieve sacred keys, re-accessing higher knowledge and knowing, and you'll activate sacred sounds to reactivate your keys and start to utilize, so you can use these tools in your day-to-day living. And you may be wondering, what's my next step? And this might be a next step, because I've had a unique communication with the Galactic Council and Galactic Community. And I talked about that call going out for a core group of us here on Earth to work in a very different way than ever before, a different orientation with the galactic community. And we'll be doing that in the seminar. And this program will give you unique processes and tools to prepare you to participate as a member of this core group if you're called to do that. So there's tremendous cutting edge energy designed to really allow vast openings or reopenings within you. So you come back to that sacred component. You start to have it anchor into your own physical body, this sacred aspect of yourself. So it's designed to support you in your day-to-day life, to give you a more expanded perception of your life, empower you to navigate your life differently through life, than ever before, and be able to utilize those tools into your day-to-day living for the communication, for creation energy. You'll be weaving a creation energy with the galactic community. And this is you coming home, taking your place again within the galactic community. So it's a very important seminar. I feel like it's one of the most important seminars ever going to be given here.
Oh my goodness, you guys. Okay. Right? We could go on. Like, oh my goodness. You guys, ChristineDayOnline.com. There's a lot of different offerings, and she gives a lot of beautiful information away, again, on her website. And this seminar, it's going to be via Zoom. So no matter where you are in the world, here, there, or everywhere, please join us. 3-day Pleiadian seminar, December 8th, 9th, and 10th. You can register on Christine Day Online. Christine, thank you so much for being here today. We are so grateful and so blessed. Brian, anything you want to add?
Go to Christine Day Online. This was absolutely amazing. You created a deeply profound invitation to anyone. And thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Kelly. It's wonderful to connect with you both. Blessings.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks,
We
Christine.
appreciate it. Okay, so Patrick, we're live. Can we record this without it being live?
Oh, we'd have to make a new room, which I thought after the last one, that's what we were trying to avoid. But yeah, we'll have to make a new room then.
I just didn't know if we want to show everybody on Facebook us doing our little intros and exits.
It's up to you, because last time, like I said, last time Brian was kind of, well, oh, it's already ended. We can't record it then. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to stay live for this one or just cut it and make a new room.
You know what? Let's cut this one. Let's make a new room, and then that'll be its own standalone piece. So everybody that's stayed on.
Just to be clear, Patrick, when we do this moving forward, we can end the interview in terms of stop going live, but then can we continue on to record our pre-show?
No, we have to, because they can jump off and be gone, but I can't record. Unfortunately, I can't just record a new video from the same.
I just don't want people in Facebook and LinkedIn that they're getting right now.
Yeah. So no matter what, we always have to go to another room.
Yep.
Okay. We should shut this and then send us an email.
Bye, everybody.
I'll have you in a couple minutes.
Thank you.